The sun was setting behind the tall crystal towers of the Vellini capital as Trell, a young scientist with pale blue skin and calm eyes, walked into the ancient research center. His hands were shaking slightly, not from fear but from excitement. Today he would study the strange old device recovered from the ruins, the machine that no one understood. Trell believed in touching history with his own hands. While other scientists preferred clean labs and safe tools, Trell liked to explore ruins, crawl into broken tunnels and search for secrets. He always thought the past still had messages waiting to be heard. Inside the lab, the strange device sat on a large metal table. It looked smooth like flowing water, made from a metal that no modern tool could identify. No buttons, no screens, no wires. Only a soft glow pulsing inside, like a quiet heartbeat. Director Mira, Trell's mentor, watched him from across the room. Her voice was calm but serious. "Trell, remember, do not activate anything. We still do not know what this device can do." "I understand," Trell said, though a part of him was not sure. If a machine still had power after thousands of years, surely it had a purpose. Trell studied markings at the base of the device. Symbols that did not belong to the Vellini language. Symbols that were older, and perhaps not from their world at all. "What are you?" he wondered. Hours passed. Trell scanned the device with different energy waves. Nothing changed. Nothing reacted. The soft pulse remained steady and calm. Until Trell tried one final test. He adjusted a scanner to release a special energy pulse, a pattern he designed himself. It was risky, but he believed the device needed a very specific touch to wake up. The moment the pulse touched the device, everything changed. The glow inside brightened sharply. Lines appeared on its surface like veins of light. Panels slid open silently, revealing a hidden control surface that had been invisible seconds earlier. Trell stepped back in surprise. "Director Mira, it activated." The machine hummed low and deep. Strange symbols appeared above it in a hologram, shifting like flowing water. Trell didn't know the language, but he understood one thing clearly. The symbols were counting. A countdown. Mira rushed to his side. "Can you stop it?" Trell tried touching the controls, but the symbols only changed faster. The glow grew brighter and brighter until it filled the room. "I don't think it's listening to me," he said. Suddenly, a sharp tone filled the lab, a rising sound, thin and cold. In the next instant, a beam of pure energy shot upwards, slicing through the ceiling as if the material was air. The beam continued straight into the sky. Alarms rang across the entire facility. Security guards ran in, followed by scientists shouting warnings. Mira's voice was filled with alarm. "What did it do? What is that beam?" Trell's heart pounded. "It's not a weapon. It's sending something." "A message?" Mira asked. Trell nodded. "Yes, a powerful one." The device vibrated softly now, its pulse stable again. But the beam continued for hours, then for days. Across the planet of Valen, astronomers saw a strange light rising from the research facility into space. Governments, scientists, military officers, all were confused, frightened, uncertain. But the device did not answer anyone. For 3 days it transmitted. On the 4th day the beam faded slowly and disappeared. The device returned to its calm pulsing glow. Trell stood before the emergency council and explained, "The message was sent far beyond our solar system. We do not know who or what received it." The council members whispered nervously. "Will someone answer?" Trell did not know the answer. But far away in the deep cold darkness between stars, something did hear the call. A fleet of ships. Huge. Silent. Armored. Their hulls darker than space itself. Their shape like deadly shadows made of metal. They changed course. They bent around suns and passed through asteroid fields with perfect precision. They were fast. They were powerful. And they were coming. Not because the Vellini wanted them. Not because the Vellini needed help. Not because the Vellini understood what they had awakened. They were coming because the signal had been heard by beings who did not know fear. Humans. The human Warfleet, scattered across distant star systems, detected the ancient call, a call created long ago by their ancestors. A call meant only for them. A call that said one thing. A world needs protection. And humans always answered a call like that. The message reached the massive flagship HSF Vengeance. Admiral Roth Hale, known across human space for his ruthless defense of allies, read the signal with narrowed eyes. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "Coordinates locked," replied his second-in-command. Admiral Hale stood tall, voice like steel. "No one harms those who call for us. Not ever." Engines roared. Warp drives charged. and with a flash bright enough to burn a star's shadow, the human armada jumped to war. Coming straight for Valen. Coming straight for Trell's world. Coming because someone had touched the ancient device and accidentally summoned the most dangerous protectors in the galaxy. The night skies of Valen were usually calm. 2 soft moons cast gentle silver light across the cities. People walked in open streets, children played in the courtyards, and scientists worked late in their labs. Life on Valen had always been peaceful. But this night was different. Old astronomer Dorn stared through his telescope with trembling hands. He had watched the stars for 50 years. He knew every pattern, every movement. But now something strange was happening, something he had never seen. Large shadows were moving among the stars. Not natural. Not random. These shadows blocked the light of multiple stars at once, and they were moving closer. Dorn swallowed hard and called the Planetary Council, but his warning was ignored again. Many thought he was simply tired or misreading the data. But Trell believed him. Trell took Dorn's recording straight to Director Mira. She frowned as she studied the starfield maps. "These are not errors," she said quietly. Her voice held fear. "Something big is entering our system." They redirected one of the orbital research stations to confirm it. Minutes felt like hours as the sensors collected data. Then the report came back. Huge ships. A fleet. Dozens of them. All moving directly toward Valen. Trell felt the air leave his lungs. Director Mira tightened her hands behind her back. "No signals, no messages, no identification," the station officer reported. "They are silent, and they are coming fast." The Valini government called an emergency meeting. Council members filled the ancient chamber, voices rising in panic. Are they here because of the signal? Do they wish to help us or destroy us? Should we evacuate? We must hide our cities. Director Mira spoke firmly, trying to calm them. These ships do not match the symbols on the ancient device. Their design is aggressive, and they are approaching in stealth. The room fell silent. Stealth meant one thing. War. Before the council could agree on anything, every screen in every city flickered on at once. A creature appeared, tall, reptilian, scaled skin shining under red lights. His eyes were hard and cruel. Behind him, dark metal walls of a command ship. "I am Commander Rex of the Drex Collective," he announced. His voice was translated into rough Valini speech. "Your world is now ours." People froze in their homes. Children clung to their parents. Scientists stared in disbelief. "You will surrender your planet and your population. If you do not surrender, we will begin removal." The word removal chilled everyone. Director Mira understood it instantly. "They mean harvesting," she whispered. The Drex commander continued. "You have one planetary rotation to decide. Obey, or perish." The screen went black. Silence covered the entire planet. And then screams began. Families ran through the streets. People tried to leave the cities. Communications crashed as billions tried calling each other. The Valini had not fought a war for 500 years. They had no military ships. They barely had weapons beyond basic security tools. They were a peaceful people. But peace had abandoned them. Far above the planet, the Drex fleet moved into perfect positions. One ship above each major city. They waited calmly for the deadline to pass. Trell and Director Mira returned to the lab, desperate to understand the ancient device. Trell pointed at the glowing patterns appearing on its surface. These symbols were not here before. It reacted when the Drex entered our inner system. "Can you read it?" Mira asked. "Not completely," Trell replied, "but I think it is a warning, or a signal that something else is coming." "Something else?" Mira whispered. Before Trell could answer, a powerful tremor shook the lab. Glass instruments rattled. The lights flickered. The Drex had begun their demonstration. A smaller Drex ship descended toward Central City, a warning shot. It hovered above the government plaza, humming like a giant beast preparing to strike. People watched from windows and rooftops, frozen in terror. Commander Rex appeared again on every screen. "That was the peaceful option," he said coldly. "This next shot will be real." The small Drex vessel charged its weapon. A bright sphere formed beneath it, growing larger by the second. The Valini held their breath. But just before the weapon fired, space above the city tore open. A blinding flash filled the sky. A sound like thunder shook the atmosphere. And from the tear in space, from a swirling blue vortex of pure energy, a massive object emerged. A ship. A ship larger than any Drex vessel. Angular. Armored. Designed for war. Human. More shocks of light erupted across the sky as dozens of other ships tore through space behind it, fast, aggressive, powerful. The first ship's name glowed on its hull. HFY Vengeance. Admiral Roth Hale's voice echoed across every human ship. All vessels shield the planet. Weapons free. Human warships moved like predators released into a hunt. Drex ships panicked, rushing to change formation. But it was too late. Missile trails streaked across the sky. Rail cannons fired. Laser beams burned through Drex hulls. Explosions lit the night. Trell and Mira watched from the lab window, eyes wide, hearts pounding. Those ships, Mira whispered. They're not Drex. Trell nodded slowly. They're responding to the signal. The ancient device glowed bright, brighter than it ever had. The Drex commander screamed orders, but panic filled his bridge. And on the human flagship, Admiral Hale spoke with ice-cold certainty. No one hurts those who call us. The human Warfleet had arrived. Not by mistake. Not by accident. Because Trell had activated a device built thousands of years ago. A device designed to summon the strongest protectors in the galaxy. Humans. And humans had come ready for war. The night above Valen had turned into a storm of fire and metal. Where once stars shone softly, now explosions lit the sky in violent flashes. Human warships and Drex vessels fired at each other in deadly rhythms, each blast shaking the atmosphere. People across the planet watched in fear and awe, not understanding who these new arrivals were, or why they were fighting for Valen. Inside the ancient research lab, Trell and Director Mira stood frozen at the window, eyes wide. Human ships moved with incredible precision, as if every second had been planned years in advance. These ships, Mira whispered. They fight like they have trained for this exact moment. Trell nodded slowly. They came because of the signal. They came because the device called them. The ancient device on the table pulsed with bright, steady light. Every time a human ship destroyed a Drex vessel, the device responded with a faint vibration, almost like it understood what was happening. Meanwhile, above the capital city, the Drex ship that had been preparing to fire its weapon tried desperately to escape. But a massive human cruiser, the HFY Titan, cut across its path, blocking it like a steel wall. Enemy vessel attempting to retreat, a human officer reported. Admiral Roth Hale stood on the command deck of the flagship HFY Vengeance, watching the battle unfold on a giant holographic display. His expression was calm, controlled, and deadly. No Drex ship leaves this system alive, Hale said. They came to enslave a peaceful world. They will pay for it. Yes, Admiral. The HFY Titan fired a focused ion cannon. A blue-white beam tore through the Drex ship, slicing it into two burning halves that fell toward the atmosphere like dying stars. On the Drex flagship Ravager, Commander Rex slammed his clawed fist against the console. Where did these humans come from? He shouted. His second-in-command, Officer Vex, checked the data in panic. Commander, they used a type of warp jump we've never seen. Their ships, their weapons, they are far beyond our level. Rex hissed angrily. We outnumber them. Not anymore, Vex whispered as another Drex cruiser exploded on the screen. Rex turned, eyes burning with rage. Then prepare all weapons. If humans want war, we will show them war. Back on the surface, panic began to shift into something else. Hope. People gathered in the streets, pointing at the skies where the human Warfleet formed protective lines around the planet. Who are they? Why are they helping us? Are they our allies? No, they don't even know us. In the laboratory, Trell stared at the glowing device. Director Mira? I don't think humans came to help us specifically. What do you mean? I think this device was built by someone in their ancient past. Someone who left it here long ago. It wasn't made by the Velini, it was left for the Velini. Mira stepped closer to the device. You're saying humans have been here before? Trell nodded slowly. Or someone connected to them. Someone who wanted to protect worlds like ours. Before Mira could respond, the research lab shook violently. Ceiling panels fell and lights flickered. What was that? Trell shouted. A Drex bomber had slipped past human defenses and fired a blast toward the capital. The human ship HFY Valor intercepted it, but the shockwave still reached the ground. Come on, Mira said. We need to move the device to a safe chamber. They lifted the heavy machine carefully, but the moment Trell touched it, the symbols on its surface shifted again, glowing brighter, faster. Trell, Mira whispered, it's reacting to you. Before he could answer, a deep voice echoed from outside. Velini scientists, remain where you are. You are under human protection. Trell and Mira ran outside and what they saw froze them in place. A human soldier stood there. Tall. Armored in dark metal with glowing blue lines. Helmet shaped like an eagle's visor. Behind him were two more soldiers, weapons drawn, scanning the area for Drek's forces. Trell stepped forward slowly. Who are you? The lead soldier's visor opened. His eyes were sharp, human, filled with purpose. I am Lieutenant Marcus Red, Human Star Force, he said. We received your distress signal. Mira's voice was trembling. We didn't send a distress signal. It was an accident. Marcus looked at the glowing device in Trell's hands. No, he said quietly, it wasn't an accident. That device was built by the first human empire. It was left on certain worlds thousands of years ago, to call us if danger ever returned. Trell felt his legs weaken. So humans planted this? Marcus nodded. This planet was once under our protection. Maybe your ancestors never knew. Maybe history forgot. But we didn't forget. Before Trell could speak, Marcus turned sharply as an explosion hit nearby. We need to get you underground. The Dreks are trying to kill the scientists who activated the beacon. Trell felt fear rise inside him. Why us? Because, Marcus said, raising his weapon, you woke up the only device the Dreks feared. A massive shadow passed overhead. The Dreks' flagship Ravager was descending toward the city, trying to break through the human defensive line. Admiral Hale's voice echoed through the comm system. All ships, protect the city. The enemy is going after the beacon. Fire rained down from the sky. Human ships rushed to intercept. Dreks fighters swarmed like angry insects. The battle was entering its most dangerous phase. Trell looked at the ancient device glowing in his arms. And he realized something terrifying. The beacon was not done. It was still calling. Calling something even bigger. Something that might change the fate of both humans and Valini forever. The sky above Valen had turned completely red. The Dreks' flagship Ravager descended like a giant metal monster, its engines roaring across the atmosphere. Every citizen looked up in terror as the massive shadow swallowed the light. Human ships fired from every angle trying to push the Ravager back. But the Dreks' commander had a new plan, a dangerous one. Inside the Ravager's command bridge, Commander Rex stood with a cruel smile, claws tapping on the metal handrail. Bring us lower, Rex ordered. We will destroy the city ourselves if the humans will not stand aside. Officer Vex hesitated. Commander, the surface will take massive damage. Rex leaned close, eyes burning. Then the Valini will learn the price of waking ancient human ghosts. The Ravager's cannons began charging, bright orange light glowing across the entire bottom of the ship. On the surface, deep fear spreads. Trell, Mira, and Lieutenant Marcus rushed through the shattered streets. Human soldiers formed a protective circle around the scientists, firing at Dreks drones that flew overhead. The ancient beacon in Trell's arms grew hotter with each passing second, symbols shifting into a new pattern. Marcus glanced at it and frowned. It's reaching its final stage. Final stage of what? Trell asked. Marcus didn't answer immediately. Instead, he scanned the skies where the Ravager loomed like a burning moon. Of calling, Marcus finally said. And whatever it is calling, is older and far more powerful than any ship in our fleet. Mira felt her breath catch. So there is more than the humans who arrived today? Marcus nodded slowly. Yes. The first human empire had many secrets. And only a few of us in modern Star Force even know legends about it. Before Mira could ask more, an explosion threw them to the ground. Several Dreks fighters had broken through and fired at the street. Human soldiers returned fire instantly. Blue beams tore through the enemy ships, lighting the sky like lightning. A soldier ran up to Marcus. Lieutenant, the Ravager is lowering its main cannon. If it fires, the city is gone. Marcus clenched his jaw. Then we buy time. The Admiral will find a way. In orbit, humans race against disaster. On the bridge of the HSF Vengeance, Admiral Roth Hale stood tall, fists tight behind his back. The holographic display showed the Ravager's cannon warming up. Admiral, an officer said urgently, the cannon will reach full charge in 60 seconds. Hale's voice was deep and steady. Divert all shield power to the Titan and the Valor. They must intercept at any cost. But Admiral, do it. Civilians will not die today. 2 human warships, the Titan and the Valor, broke formation and flew directly toward the Ravager's cannon. The Dreks opened brutal fire, hitting the ships with heavy blasts. Alarms echoed across both human vessels. Still they kept pushing forward. In the Titan, Captain Aaron Vale shouted. Hold steady. If the Ravager fires, it ends millions. Her crew locked the ship into a collision course, not to crash but to physically block the beam if needed. A desperate move. A human move. On the surface, the beacon activates. Trell and Mira reached the underground bunker entrance just as the beacon pulsed again, this time with a light so bright it forced everyone to shield their eyes. The ground began to vibrate. The air grew thick, humming with unseen energy. Marcus stared at the device in shock. It's activating, fully activating. Then the beacon spoke. Not in sound, but in pure, terrifying light. A column of blue-white energy shot into the sky, piercing clouds, atmosphere, and even space. Every ship in orbit, human and Drex, detected the pulse. Admiral Hale's console beeped violently. "Sir," a technician shouted. "A massive energy signal is rising from the surface. It's..." The officer froze. Hale leaned closer. "What is it?" The officer swallowed, voice shaking. "It's a First Empire identification code. Sir, no one has seen this signal for 10,000 years." Hale stared at the screen, speechless. The legends, the stories no one believed, they were real. The Ravager reacts in fear. On the Drex flagship, alarms blared loudly. Commander Rex turned sharply. "What now?" Officer Vex looked pale, something rare for a Drex. "Commander, this signal, it matches the one from the ancient human ruins. The ones our ancestors fled from." Rex's eyes widened. The Drex were not just afraid of humans. They were terrified of whatever came before them. "Shut it down," Rex shouted. "Destroy the beacon." But it was too late. The light grew brighter, reaching into the deep stars. Something answers. Far, far beyond normal space. Beyond known galaxies. In the quiet darkness where ancient things sleep, a massive presence stirred. Ships, enormous, silent, shaped like shimmering silver arcs, awakened from hibernation. They were unlike anything modern humans built. These were First Empire Guardian ships. Their systems came online one by one. Their engines glowed. And a single command appeared in ancient human script. Beacon activated. Return to protected world, Valen. The fleet vanished into warp. Back on Valen. The beacon dimmed slightly, the final pulse complete. Trell felt its weight increase as though it held stars inside. I didn't mean to wake anything," he whispered. Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't wake danger," the soldier said softly. "You woke a promise." Above them, the Ravager's cannon finished charging. The sky shook. Admiral Hale yelled into his comm. "Titan Valor, brace for impact." The Ravager fired its main cannon, a massive beam of burning orange light. Everyone on the ground braced for death. But before the beam hit the city, a violent tear opened in the sky, a gateway of pure white light, and from it emerged the first of the ancient ships. A colossal silver vessel shaped like a wing of a god. The beam from the Ravager struck its hull and vanished. Not even a scratch. Marcus stared upward in awe. The Guardians have returned. Trell's heart pounded. Everything had changed. The first human empire was not dead. It was coming home. The sky above Valen changed again, this time into something beyond imagination. Where fire and explosions once filled the air, now a colossal silver vessel hovered silently, glowing with ancient power. The first guardian ship of the first human empire. It didn't roar. It didn't fire. It didn't even move aggressively. It simply existed. And its presence alone bent the battle. The Ravager panics. On the Drex flagship, every crew member stared at the giant silver ship with horror. What is that thing?" Officer Vex whispered. Commander Rex said nothing. His claws trembled as he looked at the readings. "This energy signature," Vex stuttered, "it is identical to the relics found in Drek's ancestral ruins, ruins our people ran from 10,000 years ago." Rex slammed his fist against the console. "Impossible. Those were myths." Vex shook his head. The myths were warnings. Outside, more Guardian ships began emerging from the White Rift. 1, 2, 5, 10. A forming wall of silver giants. Each one older than the Drex civilization itself. On the human flagship, shock and awe. The bridge of the HSF Vengeance was silent. For the first time in decades, Admiral Roth Hale felt small. "Admiral," an officer whispered, "our scanners can't read their hull, or engines, or weapons. They don't match any technology known." Another officer added, voice shaking. "Sir, they are broadcasting an old human code. Pre-Federation era." Hale took a slow breath. The legends were true. Somewhere in ancient history, Humans had once ruled the stars with godlike power. And their guardians had never died. On the ground, the beacon makes its choice. Trell held the ancient beacon tightly, feeling it pulse as the sky filled with silver ships. The machine wasn't just calling, it was sinking. Suddenly, the symbols on it rearranged themselves into a final pattern. Marcus looked at the beacon with wide eyes. It's giving you something. Trell blinked. Giving me what? Access. The beacon projected a hologram in front of them, an old, grainy recording. A human woman appeared, wearing armor that looked similar to Starforce gear but far older. Her voice was warm but heavy with purpose. If you see this message, it means you have awakened the last beacon. Mira whispered, she's from the First Empire. The hologram continued. We planted these beacons on peaceful worlds, worlds too gentle to defend themselves. Not to rule them, but to protect them. Trell felt chills down his spine. If danger returns, the Guardians will answer. And the one who activates the beacon becomes the world's protector. The hologram ended abruptly. Trell stepped back shaking. Me? Protector? I'm just a scientist. Marcus put a firm hand on his shoulder. Today the galaxy doesn't care what you are. Cares what you did. You summoned a force that even scares the Drex. Trell looked at the sky. And for the first time he understood. The Guardians weren't just returning. They were returning for him. The Guardians speak. Above Valen, the lead Guardian ship projected a massive, calm voice across all frequencies. Identity confirmed. Beacon activation verified. World, Valen. Status, under First Empire protection. Every ship, human and Drex, heard it. But the Drex reacted the strongest. Commander Rex screamed. Shut that thing off. Jam it. But nothing could block the ancient signal. The Guardians continued. Hostile forces detected. Initiating Judgment Protocol. Marcus whispered to Trell. Judgment Protocol. I've heard rumors. It's not a battle order, it's a sentence. The Drex try to run. Back on the Ravager, panic erupted. We must retreat. Vex shouted. These machines will erase us. That is what they did to the ancient war fleets. Rex shoved him aside. No. I am Commander Rex. I will not flee from dead humans. Vex stared at him in disbelief. They are not dead. They never died. They were waiting. The Ravager fired its main cannon again, aimed directly at the Guardian ship. The beam hit the Guardian's hull. It disappeared instantly, absorbed like a drop of water into the ocean. The Guardian answered with a single pulse of blue light. Not an attack. A warning. It disabled every Drex weapon instantly. Rex roared in frustration. What is this? Why can't we fire? Vex whispered. They are shutting our systems down. One by one. The humans receive a message. On the HSF Vengeance, the Guardian spoke directly to Admiral Hale. Modern humanity. You have kept the oath. The First Empire acknowledges your defense of protected worlds. Hale's eyes widened. The Guardians recognized the new human civilization. Respected it. You may withdraw. Judgment will be carried out. Hale shook his head. No. If the Drex are attacking a protected world, then modern humans stand with the Guardians. We will fight together. The bridge crew stared at him. The Admiral had just refused to back down before the most powerful ships ever created. A moment passed. Then the Guardian responded. Acknowledged. All human forces, stand as one. Battle of Two Eras. The Drex fleet, realizing escape was impossible, made a final desperate charge. Dozens of Drex fighters and cruisers rushed toward Valen, weapons offline, engines overheating. Their screams echoed over the comm. Retreat. They're everywhere. We can't escape. The Guardians moved with silent, terrifying grace. One by one, blue beams disabled Drex engines. No explosions. No fire. Just silence. The Drex fleet became powerless, drifting ships trapped in unbreakable light. It was not war. It was judgment. On the ground, Trell understands the truth. Trell watched the Guardians dismantle the Drex threat without killing a single soul. Mira whispered, why aren't they destroying them? Marcus smiled softly. Because the First Empire didn't believe in pointless killing. They believed in order. They end threats without ending lives. Trell looked at the beacon. So what happens now? Marcus pointed at the largest Guardian ship. The Guardians will restore Valen's defenses. And they will speak with you. Trell froze. With me? Why? Marcus looked him straight in the eyes. Because you didn't just activate a machine. You awakened a promise made 10,000 years ago. And now, you are the official voice of a protected world. Trell felt dizzy. A simple scientist, now chosen by ancient human giants. He didn't know what the future held. But he knew one thing. This was only the beginning. The sky over Valen had transformed into a silver dawn. The Drex fleet, once a terrifying armada, now floated helplessly in the upper atmosphere, frozen in place by beams of blue light. Human warships formed a steady ring around the planet, guarding every angle. And above them all, the colossal guardian ships of the first human empire hovered silently like ancient kings returning to their throne. The world was safe. But the real storm was only beginning. Trell is summoned. Trell felt the beacon grow warm again. The glowing symbol shifted into a new pattern and a single beam of soft, white light shot up from the device. This time not toward the sky, but toward a specific guardian ship. Marcus stepped closer. They're calling you. Trell's throat tightened. Me? Why always me? I'm not a warrior. I'm not even a leader. Mira placed a hand on his arm. Trell. Sometimes history chooses people, not the other way around. Before Trell could protest, the beam expanded, forming a shimmering doorway of light. A transport portal. Marcus gave a respectful nod. The Guardians want to speak with the protector of Valen. Trell shook his head. I'm not a protector. But the beacon pulsed again, stronger, almost as if it disagreed. Mira whispered, Trell, if you don't go, we may never understand why this world was chosen. Why this beacon was left here. Trell looked into the portal. And stepped through. White medium star, the throne of the ancients. The world vanished. Trell found himself standing inside a vast, cathedral-like chamber. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into glowing mist. Silver pillars rose like mountains, each carved with ancient human symbols. Floating platforms circled the room, each carrying what looked like holographic figures, humans from thousands of years ago. But they weren't ghosts. They were echoes of the First Empire's leaders. And at the center of the chamber, a tall, armored figure materialized from pure light. Its armor gleamed like a star. Its voice was deep and calm. Identity, Trell of Valen. Role, Beacon Activator. Status, Chosen Representative. Trell swallowed hard. I didn't mean to activate anything. The Guardian stepped closer, its face hidden behind a mask of glowing silver. Intent is irrelevant. The beacon responds only to those who carry its key. Trell blinked. Key. I don't have any key. The Guardian's helmet opened, revealing a human face. Strong, ancient, wise. You do. In your blood. White medium star, the truth of Valen. Trell felt the floor tilt beneath him. In my blood? I'm Valini, not human. The Guardian shook his head slowly. Your people are not pure Valini. Long ago, the First Empire seeded your world with hybrid colonies. Trell froze. Mira had suspected ancient contact. But this meant the Valini were part human. You're saying my ancestors were human? Partly. Enough that the beacon recognizes you. Trell's mind spun. So that's why only I could activate it? Yes. The beacon was designed to respond to those with First Empire genetic echoes. Trell felt faint. His entire life, his species' entire history, was not what they believed. White medium star, the last purpose of the First Empire. The Guardian continued. The Drex feared the First Empire. They still fear us. Because we once defeated them, and chose not to destroy them. Trell listened silently. Instead, we created places like Valen, peaceful worlds, to show that harmony is possible when guided by wisdom. Trell looked around the chamber. You protected worlds like ours, but why? Why choose Valen? The Guardian looked at him with eyes older than civilization. Because your world holds something precious. Trell frowned. What? We have no great weapons. No rare minerals. The Guardian smiled faintly. Exactly. Confusion washed over Trell. The First Empire believed that peace is a resource too. Your people held on to gentleness even after countless wars across the galaxy. You are proof that civilization can grow without conquest. Trell blinked in shock. Valen wasn't chosen for power. It was chosen for its kindness. White medium star, judgment of the Drex. The chamber shifted, projecting a view of the Drex fleet suspended above Valen. The Guardian raised his hand. The Diriax will now receive judgment. Trell panicked. Wait, are you going to destroy them? The Guardian shook his head. We do not destroy the reckless. We teach them. A beam of light shot from the Guardian ship into the Ravager. On the Drex bridge, Commander Rex screamed as the beam washed over him. But he wasn't harmed. He wasn't burned. He wasn't crushed. He was shown. Images flooded his mind, human worlds, Drex worlds, peaceful colonies the First Empire once nurtured. He saw the true power of the Guardians. Not destruction. Balance. The beam ended. Commander Rex fell to his knees. His voice trembled. What have you done to us? The Guardian's voice thundered across the fleet. You have been given understanding. Use it wisely. Rex bowed, his arrogance shattered. White Medium Star, a new beginning. The Guardian turned back to Trell. We do not stay on protected worlds. We only ensure their safety. Trell nodded slowly. So, what happens now? The Guardian stepped closer. Now, Valen joins the new age of humanity. You will have human allies. You will have Guardian watch ships in distant space. And you, Trell, will represent your world. Trell's voice cracked. Why me? I'm just a researcher. The Guardian smiled softly. Because when the galaxy called, you answered with courage, not violence. Trell's eyes burned with emotion. Will you leave us again? The Guardian shook his head. We never truly left. We only waited for the right voice. The chamber slowly dissolved into light. White Medium Star back on Valen. Trell stepped out of the portal. Mira and Marcus rushed to him. What happened? Mira asked. Trell looked at the sky where the Guardian ships hovered like silver suns. They chose us, he whispered. They chose me, to speak for Valen. Marcus smiled proudly. That's what protectors do. As the Guardians began to ascend back into the heavens, leaving Valen safe and whole, Trell felt something he never expected. Hope. Not just for his world, but for the entire galaxy. Because the First Empire had not returned to rule. They had returned to guide. And this time,